This video is sponsored by Zebronics. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Nikhil from dopemotions.com and welcome back to this brand new After Effects tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to create some really nice and simple looking title animation in After Effects. So my plan is to create 10 videos dedicated to title animations, then 10 videos or episodes you can say dedicated to slideshow animations, and then 10 videos dedicated to simple and minimal looking logo reveal animation, in which in every episode I will be covering up different style of logo reveal, title animations and slideshows. So if you guys want me to create something like this, do let me know in the comment section below and I will love to create it for you guys. So yeah, with that said, without any further ado, let's get straight into After Effects and get started. If you guys are looking for a really high quality speakers, or maybe a cool mechanical keyboard, or a super responsive mouse, or a dope looking cabinet for your next build, then make sure to check out Zebronics.com. From slim LED TVs to wireless headsets, they have it all at a really good and reasonable price. For more information, check out the link in the description below. Alright, so here we are in After Effects. So let's start by creating a new composition and let's rename this to main. 1920 into 1080, let's make this 60 FPS and let's make our duration 10 seconds and hit OK. So the first thing that I'm going to create is those circular animations that you see, which is really simple. So let's select the ellipse tool and set the stroke to around maybe 50, and from the center you can just hold, drag it and hold Ctrl and Shift to create a perfect circle just like that. And also you can just align this in the center. Let's go into ellipse 1, ellipse path 1, and let's animate the size. So let's go to around, let's say maybe 2 seconds, and I'm going to set the stroke or size, let's say, to around, let's go with something like, I'll go with 600. I think that is a bit too much, maybe 400. Okay, that looks good. And let's go ahead and add a trim part to this. And let's animate the trim part just like so. So let's go at the very beginning and set this to 0. Create a keyframe on the end property. Also on the offset, I'm going to set this to, let's say, maybe 180. Alright. And for the stroke, I'm also going to animate the stroke as well as the size. So for the size, I'm going to go with maybe something like 50. And for the stroke, I'm going to go with 50 pixels and create a keyframe. So let's just select the layer and hit U so you can see just the keyframes, as you can see right over here. And let's go forward in time, let's say 2 seconds, and let's increase the size. Oh, we forgot to keyframe the size actually. We need to also keyframe the size. So let's go back, create a keyframe on the size and hit U. Let's go to 2 seconds and let's increase the size to 400. And for the stroke, I'm going to go with 3. And for the end property, I'm going to make this 100% just like that. And for the offset, I'm going to set this to 0. So now we have something like that, which is not actually what I'm going for. So let's say I'll just get rid of the offset keyframe and let's see what we have. Okay, something like that. Okay, so what we can do is let's set the offset to 0 actually. Create a keyframe and go to 2 seconds and let's set this to 180. Let's see what we have. Perfect. This is what I'm going for. So let's select all the keyframes and hit F9 to ease those keyframes. Go to graph editor and I'm going to select this points and drag this handle just like that. Then I'm going to select this points and drag this handle just like so. And by the way, if your graph editor doesn't look like this, make sure you're working in the edit speed graph and not in the edit value graph. So we have a really nice and smooth looking motion. Looks pretty interesting. Pretty cool. Now what I can do is duplicate it by hitting Ctrl D on the keyboard and hit U so you can see just the keyframes. Let's go right over here, and I'm going to change the size to, let's go with maybe 350, or maybe let's go with 300, I guess. Yep, that looks good to me. So now we have something like this, and also I'm going to change the size to around 10, and for the stroke width I'm going to go with 20. So now we have something like this, as you can see. And also you can just offset this by hitting R on the keyboard and rotating it, maybe let's say 90 degrees, just to give a bit of a randomness. As you can see, looking pretty good. Maybe I'll go with 180 degrees. Let's see what we get. Okay, this is looking much better. And also one more, I'm going to create one more circle, so hit Control D to duplicate it, hit U so you can see just the keyframes. And for this I'm going to set the size to around 377, or maybe I think that is a bit too, maybe something like that. And for the stroke width I'm going to increase this just like that, something like so. So now we have this really cool looking animation, as you can see. Pretty nice. Also you can offset this again, so hit R and let's rotate this, something like that, really random, just to create a different look. And for the size, let's hit U and set the size to, maybe I'll go with, let's go with 0 actually. Oh, not the size actually, I'm going to go with the width. Stroke width, I'm going to set this to 5, and let's see what we have, something like that. You see, looks pretty interesting. Very nice. So there we are done with the circular animation. So let's select all the layers and hit Control Shift C to pre-compose it, and let's call this circles. And now let's animate our the text that we get. Actually, I'm going to the circle, and I think the second circle is a bit too much big, so I'll just hit U so you can see just the keyframes, and I'm gonna make this a bit smaller in size, maybe somewhere around there, something like maybe 250 or something like that. And for this one, hit U and let's bring this down just like so, maybe 330 or something like that. And for the stroke width I can set this to 40. I think this is looking much better. You can take your time, play around with this. You can also use triangles or squares or rectangles, whatever that you want, and create a different kind of look, So yep, this is looking pretty good. Let's move ahead with our animation. So let's select the rectangular tool and set the stroke to around maybe 5 pixels, and let's create a rectangle just like so. Let's center this up. Let's go into rectangle 1, rectangle path 1, and what I'm going to do is right over here at 1 second, I'm going to just first of all unlink the size, and let's set this to 0, and for this I'm going to go to 0 as well. Let's create a keyframe, go forward in time to maybe somewhere around there. Let's increase the size to around, let's go with maybe 120, and let's go a bit more forward in time, and let's increase this size to somewhere around there, maybe something like 550. And for this I'm gonna go with 100 as well. Okay, pretty cool. I'm gonna maybe drag this keyframe right over here. Pretty cool. Let's select the keyframes and hit F9, go into the graph editor, and what I'm gonna do is select this point and drag it just like so. Same for this one, just like that. Now we have a really nice and interesting animation. Same thing I'm gonna do right over here as well. Pretty nice. Now what I'm gonna do is to make it look more interesting, first of all I'm gonna add a transform to this, and skew this by, I guess, maybe -12 or something like that. Yep, this looks pretty good to me. I think I'll go with maybe -10. Okay, perfect. So now we have our animation, as you can see. So let's duplicate this by hitting Control D on the keyboard, and let's rename this to matte. And also, we don't need the stroke now, we need the fill. So I'm going to set this to something like a random gray color. And I'm going to hit U so we can see just the keyframes. I'm going to go right over here. And let's go actually at 1 second and 30 frames and set this size to maybe 1110. And let's go right over here and set this to 1110, not 1110, 110, 110. And let's set this to 560. So it's a bit bigger than our stroke, as you can see. And let's change the track matte of the circle to alpha inverted. So now we have something like this. You can see, really simple. Maybe I think I'll make it a bit more big. So let's go right over here, make this 120. Right over here, let's make this 120. Perfect. Now it's looking much more interesting, you know. And one more thing I just, came into my mind is if I duplicate this, so hit Control D to duplicate it. Let's bring this down. And if I displace this actually, so we can get a, kind of a unique look to this. Pretty complex kind of a look. Let's add a fill. Let's see. Something like that. Let's change the color just to, why not? Just experimenting. Looks pretty complex and looks actually interesting, as you can see. You need to, already mess with this stroke as well, but it looks pretty interesting to me. So you can do really cool things with this effect or technique, you can say. So we have our animation ready. So now one thing you can see right over here, we need to fix this animation problem that we see. You can see in the stroke. So let's select this, hit U, and I'm going to just bring this just like so. Okay, looking nice. Now let's add our text. Before that, let's pretty quickly rename this to a box, something like that. And let's type in our text. You can of course type in anything that you want. So I'm just going to type in motion graphics, and let's select a really nice font, maybe Montserrat, bold. That should look better. Let's set this something like that. 60 looks good. And also I'm just gonna copy the transform property, so hit Control C and paste it on the text. There we have it. Let's make this a bit smaller, maybe 50. I'll go with something like 50, or let's say 56, something like that, or maybe 55. $53. Okay, so there we go. Let's align this in the center. There we have our text. Now to animate the text, what I'm going to do is let's go into text property and let's add a position. And there we have a range selector. As you can see, if I go into the range selector, I can play around with the end property to create a really cool animation, but it's not working right now because the position, we need to play around with the position, and maybe I'll just place it somewhere around there. Let's set this to 100, and then we can play around just like so. Pretty cool, right? So for the end property, I'm going to just set it at 100, and I'm going to animate the offset just like so. So let's set it to 0 actually, and go into advanced options. Advanced option. Let's set the shape from square to ramp up, and for the ease high and ease low, I'm going to set this to around 30 and 30 as well. So now we can animate the end offset or the offset, not the end offset, to something like this. Pretty cool, right? So let's go to somewhere around there, 2 seconds and 30 frames, and let's create a keyframe on the offset, go forward in time to 4 seconds maybe, and let's bring this up just like that. So yep, now we should have something like this, and I think it's a bit too slow, so I'm just going to drag this keyframe right over here. Let's see. Pretty cool. You can obviously play around with the ease high, you know, to get a more smoother look. I think I'll set this to 60 and set the ease low to around 40. Now we have something like that. Looks interesting. So now what I'm going to do is, the first thing that we need to do is, let's duplicate the matte. So hit Control D to duplicate it and put this on the top of our text, and change the text track matte to alpha inverted, I guess. Oh, alpha matte. Now you can see it's not working the way we want it to work. So what we could do is add, maybe I'll get rid of the transform. Nope, that's not going to work. So why is it not working? So let's go right over here, and we can increase the stroke or decrease the stroke. Okay, I got it. Let's delete the matte and duplicate this one. I'm going to duplicate the box actually. So hit Control D, duplicate it, and let's call this text matte. Put it on top, and there we go. Nothing is happening because we need to hide this up, and also change the track matte to alpha inverted or alpha matte. And also we need to add a fill. There we go. We don't need any stroke. It's still not working. It's pretty weird. Oh, it's working actually. There we go. Really simple. So let's check out our complete animation. As you can see, it's really simple and easy to create. I think I'll need to drag the text a little forward in time, or a little backward in time actually. Now we have something like this, and we can increase the time animation as well. Something like that. Pretty cool. So let's make it now. Let's make this look really interesting. So the first thing that we need to do is select this layers and hit Control Shift C to pre-compose it, and let's call this shapes, and let's add a gradient ramp to this just to make it look even more cooler. And let's set this to something like a really nice pinkish color maybe, and let's set this to something like a purple color. Actually, I'm going to make this red, and for this one I'm going to make this kind of a purplish blue color. Put it somewhere around there, and there we go. Pretty interesting. You can of course use any color that you want, any of your favorite colors. So it's looking pretty nice. Let's pre-compose this again. Hit Control Shift C, and let's call this title. Hit OK, and let's add a glow to this. And we can play around with the radius, you know, increase it really high. Also bring up the threshold to maybe 80%. That is a bit too much. Bring this back, and there we go. Really nice looking title animation is ready. And one more thing that you can do is you can just duplicate it by hitting Control D on the keyboard. Oh, before that, let's delete this. Let's go and create a reverse animation, because a lot of people ask me how to reverse the animation, and it's actually pretty simple. So let's say I'll go to 4 seconds and crop this up by holding Alt and close bracket. Hit Control D, right click, go to time and time reverse layer. There we have it, the reverse animation. Pretty simple. You can also play around with the, the timing. So I can go into columns, and let's add a duration control, or not actually the duration control. Let's add a stretch, and let's set this really
small, something like so. Hold shift and just snap it right over here. You see we have some issues, so let's fix this up. Okay, so it animates out a bit more faster, just like that, and in 6 seconds we have a really nice and simple looking title animation. Pretty cool. So let's go ahead and create a reflection for this. So what I'm going to do is pre-compose this again. So hit Control Shift C and let's call this main title. Hit Control D. Let's select the bottom one and hit S to bring down the scale properties, unlink the scale properties, and let's set this to something like -27. Place it somewhere around there. And also I'm going to add a fast blur to this. And let's increase this really high, something like that, and bring down the opacity a bit, just like so. So now we get a really interesting kind of a reflection, as you can see at the bottom, which makes our title animation look really nice and professional. Also you can add a background if you want to, a really nice background maybe. So hit Control Y to create a new solid, and let's rename this to BG for background. Hit OK, put this behind. Let's add a gradient ramp to this, and let's set this to something like a really nice pinkish color, kind of a darker pink, and for this one kind of a really nice darker blue, something like that. And also I'm going to increase the ramp scatter really high and add a curves adjustment to this, just to make it a bit darker, just like so. Bring this high like that, just to get rid of all the color bendings. Let's set this somewhere around there. Really interesting, as you can see, looking pretty nice. So that is the quick and easy way of creating some really nice and elegant looking title animation, and I hope you learned something new from this tutorial, and I hope you guys are enjoying this episode, series, whatever that you can call it. So yeah, that's it for today.
So that is a wrap for today. I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and if it was, make sure to subscribe, comment and like, and I will see you guys in my next video. Till then, take care. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and don't forget to stay raw, stay creative.